Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Keeping It Simple AI. And I'm really excited to have Brittney Govan as my guest today. So, a little bit about Brittney. We worked together, we served together on the board of the Wharton Black MBA Alumni Association. And I really loved working with Brittney for a couple of reasons. She kept us older alum in line and really connected to how the younger generation was feeling. And then during our tenure, Brittney was on her own job search. And even with that, found it within herself to help others who were in the job search as well and to give that back. And I always and still do admire that about Brittney. That will always stand out in my memory about Brittney, and it says a lot for her brand. It's very genuine, very authentic. So, why I wanted to have Brittney on the show is because she's a generative AI expert in her own right, leveraging AI in her job search. And we'll get into that a little bit later. And then also helped others to leverage AI for their job search as well. So we want to bring it to the Keeping It Simple AI audience so that you can learn from Brittney and her experiences. But before we get into that, let's hear about Brittney and who she is beyond the job title, which, by the way, is Ads Product Marketing Manager at eBay. Woohoo!
Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Nadine. I'm so happy to be here. Always fun. It's never not a fun moment with you and the rest of just the original alumni board. So yes, happy to be here and happy to talk with you because I feel like a lot of my AI stuff I learned from you. So
Yes,
to
and
be here.
Brittney, we're going to need a little bit more volume because we don't want to miss anything you have to say.
Okay, yes. So can you hear me better? Am I good?
Yes, yes.
Okay, there we go. But yes, so let's just to dive in and want to make sure I didn't miss your first question, but just really, background and who I am outside of the career and the title. I am a Southern girl, Texas girl through and through. Everybody knows it. I know say
Everybody.
it any chance I get. So especially, I live in New York City right now, but my roots are very, like I said, Texas. I bleed that. And then I always like to joke and call myself a part-time Cali girl because I did live in LA for 5 years. And I do feel like that's like that huge mix of who I am, like that Texas Southern girl. I have a huge family. I'm big on people. I am an extrovert. And so there's that side of me. And then, like I said, that part time Cali girl in me is like, I love fitness and healthy eating and outdoors and all those things are priority, which is very 180 of the Southern and Texas life. So I have that mix. And then that LA in me is, I love to like get dressed up and fancy and put on makeup, do all the things, and go to brunch and just go paint the town. So I'd say outside of my professional life, that's really who I am, and I feel like the core of my existence outside of God, or all of that is second to God. But yes, that's all the what drives me in my existence.
Will vouch for the fact that you represent Texas through and through.
Somebody has to hold
My
it
God.
down.
So while we were serving together, you were in the recruitment process, and now you're at eBay. Tell us a little bit about your new role and how what your day to day looks like, and how AI even features in that role.
Yeah, so as you said, I am in eBay. I'm a product mark. So at eBay, I sit in what's called our product marketing org. But within that org, there's an ads org, and so I focus on our ad sides of our advertising side of the house. and I support two products. One product called Stores. So what that is like if a business, no matter the size, you could be as big as a major brand that we see every day, the clothes and shoes that we wear that are on the eBay storefront, and then just a small like mom or pop seller that would subscribe to what we call stores. So if you go on eBay's website and a seller has that storefront, that
Mm-hmm.
is a store, that is a paid subscription, so support that side. And then what's called promoted stores, so that is a display ad product that if an advertiser or a seller chooses to purchase a promoted stores ad, it's an ad that routes you to your store. So we have various types of ads. Some ads route you to a specific item. You might advertise a shoe or some of your listings. Promoted stores ads route you directly to the storefront, so giving you that like kind of like more so like mid funnel advertising experience to really focus on building your brand on eBay. And like I said, we have big brands on there who already have that brand presence and want to keep that on the platform. And then like I said, brands who rely on eBay just to sell every day. So focus on that. And just being in my role, I focus on full funnel in terms of being product marketing. So from everything from like you think of inbound marketing, so like all the research, audience segmentation, competitive analysis, value prop, understanding users' pain points, segments, all of that stuff. And then everything too as well from like outbound marketing. So like focused on, okay, now we have all of these things. How do we push it to market? How do we make sure sales is set up? Doing all the sales enablement, creating guides for them. And if we do like, for example, a new product launch, I'm creating like the comms for that. Working now as well on some comms for like our like eBay like social media pages, so working with like teams to be able to like communicate those launches broadly. So full funnel in terms of just like I said, all things like eBay advertising, focused on those two product areas. And then my day to day, very like most days, eBay has a very heavy meeting culture. So there are days where I can literally from like noon to 5:36 p.m. be on meetings with no breaks. So like in the morning, because most people are in Cali, I try to spend my mornings really being productive and getting a lot of work done. But we are very like heavy meeting culture, and so my day-to-days are like so different, but a lot of it is like meeting with the product team, meeting with the engineering team, the design team, all of us working together just every day, working ins and outs, sales teams,
Yeah.
the ins and outs of those products. So yeah, I think I answered your full question, but did I miss something?
Are you using any AI?
Oh, yes, yes. So, and in terms of AI, which is a huge push right now in our company, and we actually have, I believe it's next week, AI week within the company, all these different like workshops and things
Wow.
like that. So, for our Cali based people who are there and they're at HQ, they'll go in person. For those of us who are not there, we'll watch a lot of the virtual sessions and do the workshops virtually. But yes, we actually have our own internal AI system. It's kind of like our version of Chat GPT called Hub GPT. And
Nice.
so use that all the time because it's supposed to allow us basically like we're not allowed to upload data and personal information
Of
into Chat
course.
GPT for the company. So able to take spreadsheets and things and analyze that, and I put it into Hub GPT, and it's able to help me do things. So I may have a spreadsheet of data I've gotten from the analytics team, for example, at some of the last stuff that I worked on, where it's data in terms of like, okay, these are all of like the verticals. This is like the fashion vertical. This is the fashion vertical in all of our top markets. And I'm able to see like churn, adoption, who's churned in the last 30 days, who's churned in the last year. So I'm able to like put that into our Hub GPT and have it analyzed and pull out like the outliers. Okay, here, who are some of these like groups that are maybe churning heavily that we should focus on looking into why they're churning? Who are some of these groups that like a ROAS, which is a term, return on ad spending? When a seller has high ROAS, typically churn is very low because they're seeing that high return on their high return on their investment. And so when we see those high ROAS verticals, we may say, oh, look over here, like this fashion vertical over here has a very high ROAS, especially in these markets. We need to like up those more. We have 90% of that market is untapped, like letting sellers know like, hey, this is where we could get new business. So I'll have like Hub GPT help me analyze a lot of that data and find those patterns, and then do a whole brief and write up based on that, where old school used to have to go through and do a lot of it by hand.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because many companies, the security and the data privacy issues are the big concern with using ChatGPT. But it's important for companies to know that you can build your own GPTs. You can have on-premise solutions. You can architect cloud solutions so that you can get the security that you need and the data privacy that you need while also getting the capabilities of AI, because it sounds like you have those insights at your fingertips thanks to the technology that eBay has built in house.
Yeah, and that's it's super helpful for doing that. So like I said, the data and things that you can't use and upload to any external places. And then too, like a lot of my job is content as well.
Yes,
So like if you look on, like I said, our website, I'm doing, and when it comes to like, for example, for the products that I focus on, the what we call buyer and seller experience. So for example, on like the seller experience, we would be looking at, okay, like the back end, all the UI, how they're going in and like creating the whole like set up to creating their ads. And then the buyer experience is like, okay, what does that ad look like to the end buyer? But I'd be
yeah.
writing like copy for that. And I'll sometimes like, put into Hub GPT like, oh, hey, like polish up this statement, or like, how does this sound for this type of audience? So it'll definitely help me. And I'm like, oh, or like, I may hear from legal and they'll be like, oh, you can't use this word. Like I'll get told all the time, you can't say optimize or maximize. You can't overpromise. So I asked like, hey, what's
I
a
like that word.
yeah, I'm like, what's a better word that's not over promising that I could fit
Right.
in here? So definitely a day-to-day part of my life these days that helps me, especially like when I get, those kind of ask, or like a lot of data analysis that I have to do.
Cool. All right. So let's start from the beginning. Before eBay, when did you first start using Gen AI applications? What motivated you to start exploring them?
Yeah, I would say so, like heavy usage. I think I was on the wave with everyone else when like the chat GPT kind of got very popular. So I feel like I started there. And I think especially like what really drove it was during my recruiting process, because I was, I'm in tech, the industry, what was this? This is 2023. Industry is insane. And so it is just like you really had to figure out a way to stand out. And so because of that, everyone was like, yeah, you have to tailor your resume like to the T to every single job you're applying for and all of that. And so I was like, okay, I got to get granular here. And then I noticed throughout that process, like I'm using Chat GPT to help revamp my resume, which was working, and I'm getting interviews. But throughout that interview process, now it's like, same thing. I have a sheet of data that I have to analyze and put together a presentation to present as a part of that interview process. And so that's what made me like, okay, now let me like, I started using Perplexity and Gemini. And Perplexity, that was the one you taught me about, which was super, super helpful, because when I'd have to do a lot of these like presentations and things during these interview, what I really liked about Perplexity was that they would pull, like if I'm like, okay, I'm interviewing for this company, tell me what's going on in the industry with them right now, or pull like their latest 10 news articles. It was able to consolidate a lot of things that again we were doing by hand before, just on Google searching for all those things, searching for news articles. So I leveraged, like I said, Chat GPT, Gemini, Perplexity. I tried Gamma. I wasn't the hugest fan of Gamma. It might have gotten better since
It
then, but
has. I'm gonna need you to give Gamma another
okay,
chance.
I'm going to
I
give
need
it.
you to give Gamma another chance.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna add it to the list to give Gamma another try. So yeah, I was those were, I'd say, like the big ones that I tried and was using throughout that time. But I feel like Chat GPT has just like grown instrumentally in that time, and that is like my best friend. I'm literally every single day asking Chat GPT like anything, whether it's like tied to growth in my role. So obviously won't use it for like anything in the company or personal data. But I may say like, hey, this is my role and this is what I'm thinking about next. And like, how should I be thinking through this? Or what's a good strategy or a timeline, based on like my level of seniority and things like that. So I feel like, yeah, I every single day chat GPT.
Yeah. ChatGPT is a good thought partner and BFF.
Yes.
Yes. So I want you to break it down. for our listeners in terms of the different components of the recruitment process and what that looked like once you started leveraging AI tools? What different tools did you use for the different parts of the application? Yeah, just walk us through that, please.
Yeah, so for me, leveraging AI, I felt like was really easy once I got the hang of it because I'm naturally a detail-oriented person. And I realized like the more that you give the system, the more it gives you back and the more granular that it can tailor things to you. So I would say like in terms of recruiting, where I would start and how I was leveraging it was, one, I mentioned my resume. So helping me like, hey, this is the exact role I'm applying to. Here's my particular resume. These are the things that I want to pull out and highlight. Here's some bullets that I don't have in my resume that might be relevant. Like, help me polish up this resume. So I was using ChatGPT for that. But I would say, too, just the reach outs because I'm having to slide in recruiters' DMs. And so when I was doing that, I had like a generic spill, and then I would like put it into chat GPT and ask chat GPT to help me like, polish it up and flavor it for that particular person or for that particular role. And so I was leveraging it to slide in DMs and to create my resume. So to help me polish up my resume. So I would say that was part
Right.
one.
So, yes, part one. So, where were you finding these roles?
Mm.
And where were you finding how were you submitting your resumes? And then how did you find the persons to slide into their DMs to give them the ChatGPT customized, personalized message?
Yeah, so I would say a few parts in terms of finding roles. I would say my main go-to was LinkedIn at that time. So using LinkedIn, just using the LinkedIn search, typing in like the roles I was looking for. And then the second piece was using the search function. So typing in exactly like the company name, the role I was looking for. And then I'd use like keywords like hiring. So for example, say I was looking for a role at eBay, it'd be like eBay, product marketing, I'm hiring. And then, I'm able to find people's posts. And so I
Wow.
was always doing like the searches or like, and I'm going through and I had a list of companies and I'm typing that in for it was like a full-time job. I'm like, okay, wherever you're applying, if you're like Walmart, Target, it's like type that in the title you're looking for. And then I'd put like hiring or I'm looking for. And then you also too can filter by company. So I may
Mm-hmm.
put like, oh, hiring marketing, and then I'll filter like the top companies that I'm looking for. And then you'd see posts from recruiters and hiring managers. So that's how I was typically knowing how to slide in DMs. Now, like my few target companies, what I would do is I would also watch their websites because sometimes the roles on LinkedIn aren't necessarily the most up to date. So I'd
Yes.
also watch those websites. And then when I saw a role, I'd like look at that title and try to find someone on LinkedIn who looked like they were in that org. And then if I saw I was at least connected to someone in some kind of way or they were an alum of a school I went to, I'd reach out to them first. Like, hey, I found this role. Do you know who the hiring manager is? Can you give me insight? And so it was really like leveraging the connections to know like who it was. So for example, like I remember looking, we're on the board that we had like Senyo, who was at Google. He was one of those people that helped me if I was looking at roles at Google. I'm like, hey, Senyo, these are like the roles I found. Can you tell me who the hiring manager is or who? And he'd be like, oh, so-and-so's on that team and they're like from the MBA world, reach out to them. So I was like very, very invested in like just throughout the process of like, hey, here's all the like check boxes and things I need, and just making sure to like check those boxes. Like I said, leveraging all the tools, your human connections, your computer resources, and putting all that together and really focused on leveraging that. And I was able to get tons, as you know, like interviews with every company all the time. So it was a grind, but like I said, it was like a full-time job recruiting
Yes.
during that period.
So talk to us about how you were leveraging AI with your resume updates and customizations.
Yeah, so what I would really focus on was like, okay, how can I take like certain, but so I would look at a role, for example, um, and then I would say, okay, hey, these are all the things that role is looking for. But then sometimes before I would even put it into the system, I would literally try to either like talk to somebody in that company or like go on LinkedIn and find like that hiring manager. And then if I know what that org is working on or what their goals were, I'm trying to like make sure my bullets fit that and fit that
Yeah.
experience, right? Because typically the job descriptions are so generic and they don't really like tell you they what they don't do is tell you like the goals of that or the shortcomings. So one thing too, like, okay, if I talk to somebody here, they're in that org or they're adjacent to that org, they're the hiring manager, and they say, hey, these are our gaps, these are our pain points. Oh, let me make sure that I can like ask Chat GPT, hey, this, I'm applying for this role. Their pain point is that they, with AI, they are struggling with maintaining like how to secure data within XYZ. I worked on that, at this company. How can I tailor my resume bullet to fit that? And I would tell it like put X's in the spots where I could potentially put numbers or metrics. And so basically I'm like gonna have my metrics ready. They're helping me get some bullets together. And then I'm like, okay, like it'll like, oh, okay, you helped reduce fraud by X%. And I'm like, oh, okay, now I can take the numbers because I know I did that and put it in here. So it was a bunch of, like I said, I can't say that like AI is just this like magic bullet and I'm like, hey, do this for me. I'm like hand holding AI and walking with it throughout the process, as if you were like hiring a human that was helping you do this. Like they're going to walk through all of it and you just don't want some generic output. You're like, no, bullet by bullet, help me. Here's the goals. Here's the roles I want. Here's the pain points of that business and going through it with a fine tooth comb.
I love that. Brittney, I'm just going to unpack a couple of things that you've said that are so important. So one, this thing around, it's not like AI is a magic bullet and many persons are selling it as that, and it's not. As much as I love AI, it absolutely is not a magic bullet. It is a partner and it requires human intelligence to guide it. We are not anywhere close to AGI or it being sentient or all of that. You need human intelligence to guide artificial intelligence. So let's make that clear. The other thing that I want to point out is I hope you guys heard that Brittney was sliding into DM and making human connections. I hear so often people saying, LinkedIn is a scam. I applied for the job and no one responded. No one responded because 10,000 people applied. And so, how do you differentiate yourself from all those people that would have applied, that would have leveraged AI without any customization? How do you stand out from them? You do these other human things. So, I want to make sure that comes across because this is not about AI getting you the job. This is about AI and your hustle and your creativity and human connection still playing a big role. So I just wanted to underscore that for our listeners before moving forward.
Yes, that is the huge key. Like I said, all these touch points still have to be the human element added to it, which one, the human element of yourself, feeding, these tools literally, like I said, to the T, what it is you're looking for and what it needs to know. Like I said, then leveraging that and still getting it back to another human at the end of the day, because the ATS systems, especially with jobs, do like weed you out. And it looks like at everything, and it's I hate the ATS system, but you really got to figure out how to beat it, and typically beating it is getting in touch with the right people.
Right. All right. You hear that? ATS systems, the way to beat it is getting in touch with the right people. All right. So you started to talk a little bit about this, Brittney, but what are some of your go-to AI applications, can't live without, and why? And what do you do with them?
Yeah, so I would say the big one, like I said, Chat GPT for like I literally all day, every day, I will literally ask it the simplest things like, I want to go to happy hour today in New York City. in this area. Give me the top 5 places that give upscale vibes for someone in there. Like early, like I will put my age, everything, like
Wow.
ChatGPT. Yeah, I will be like, for this age category, I'm looking for this price point. Like this is the crowd that I am looking for. Like I will ask ChatGPT as if I am talking to a friend. And so I live and die. It's on my phone, on all my computers. So I would say ChatGPT is probably the big one.
Are
Um,
you using voice mode or are you typing?
no, I type. I
You
type.
type. You're a
I
typer.
type.
I'm a typer.
I'm a So I'd say that's the big one. I would say one I'm trying to actually learn this week. I was kind of playing with it. I'm trying to figure out the ones like to do headshots where it's not the fake cartoon ones, but where you put in like your actual nice headshot and it gives you like modifications of your headshots. So I've kind of been like trying to play with that because I'm just like, oh yeah, I've been seeing some people's and I'm like, this looks good. Like this.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm gonna plug Headshot AI by Wharton MBA alum Moyo Okome.
Oh, yes. I think I saw. Okay, yes, yes. Okay.
That's
So
one you can
I
check out, but there are others as well. But I love them.
Yes, I it's so many like ones out here that are really, really good. And I'm just like, yeah, you used to pay like $300 for these photo shoots. And now I'm seeing like, oh, $10, $20. So I think that's one that now, especially too, because I just feel like, oh, that's take used to like, I feel like for me, like twice a year or so, like, oh, let me go pay for these professional photo shoots and update my like photos. So seeing that, I'm like, oh, you can literally like, oh, I got a speaking engagement next week. Let me put my most up to date, let me take a selfie and have an up to date professional photo. So I think that's a big one that I'm trying to get to. And one of my learning teammates from Wharton, he just actually exposed me to it and I forgot the name of it off top, but it's so cool. He was showing me how you can like feed in because he has a podcast. He actually does Wharton, and then he started a podcast, the Wharton FinTech podcast at Wharton. He actually just did an interview with our Black Wharton alum, Amre from Amex, and so what's Andre Williams? And so literally, like he was showing me how he can take information, like before his interviews, he puts it into this AI tool, and it turns it into a podcast. And it's
Mhm.
like two
Notebook and
people
them.
talk. Yes, I think that's it. And they
Yes.
like are talking back and forth to each
Correct.
other. And I was like, oh, okay, this is really interesting. So like it's been something that, like I said, I think I just started off solely only using it for recruiting and all of that. But I feel like this year, and then like I said, simple stuff like sometimes I'm, being on the Wharton alumni board, I'm like, oh, help me generate like something for the newsletter or like a caption for IG. So I was using it for a lot of that stuff. But now I'm like, oh, I'm just learning of so many like cool, useful ways. And even same thing, I at first refused to like pay for it. And then I saw with like Chat GPT, same thing. I was like, oh, I pay this $20 a month and I can like put in all of this stuff and like you could upload way more, you could do more. So I was even learning, like I think that's a big thing, is a lot of people are like, well, why would I pay when there's a free version? But like, yes, like if you're just doing simple stuff like asking it for meal prep, then yeah, you don't need to pay. I use it for that too. I use it for meal prep as well, all of that. But for like more complex things, for sure. I'm too scared to put like my financials and things like that in there yet. But I've seen people say that like they've had spreadsheet with like bills and debt or things like that, and it's like analyzing and giving them a plan of like, oh, if you do it this way, this is how you can pay this debt down based on these interest rates and things like that. So I'm just like, yeah, there's a lot of cool uses, and like I said, the more the bigger I'd say like the data sources that you have that you want to start plugging into these tools, like paying for this is to me so worth it.
Absolutely. And since they're a paid version, I'm going to recommend Deep Search, which
Okay.
ChatGPT has now, which is kind of like Perplexity. I still give Perplexity the edge in
Okay.
terms of sources, but if you want to do some deep research on a topic, I would recommend leveraging Deep Search. With the
Okay.
$20 plan, you have a limit,
Oh,
but in terms of the number of searches per month, but it
okay.
really goes deep. So it actually stops to think, and depending on how in depth the topic is, it can take as much as 20 to 30 minutes for it to
Hmm.
come back. And then in terms of analyzing your financial data, just check your settings to make sure that you've turned off the the setting that says you can
I'll
use
remember.
your data to trade
Yes.
and the memory, two different settings. But you can also sanitize your data, take out your name, anything, depersonalize it, and then say, can you do this analysis on Patsy's situation for me, just to see what it comes back with? Because again, it's not like you're going to take financial advice from ChatGPT
Right.
and go buy like Microsoft stock, but it gives you some things. It provokes thought, and it gives you some things to think about. So yeah, getting some financial analysis is one of the use cases I like too. So love it,
Yes. No,
love it, love it, love it.
I'm enjoying, like I said, learning about them all, and I feel like I've like just scratched the surface. So we're like I said, we're doing the AI week at work next week, so we'll be joining that. But we actually even today on a meeting with our director, they now like want us as a requirement to at least, I think she said 2 hours a week be focused on like using AI. Um,
Really?
for yeah, so she was just like, yeah, like taking the ask like from company wide is for us to be, like I said, taking 2 hours out of your week and leveraging that dedicated time to focus on like using and playing with the AI tools that we have available. And then I know I'm waiting on my they ran out of licenses, but like our job does offer Chat GPT Enterprise subscriptions. And
Great.
so when I get off the wait list for that, I'm actually interested to see like how we can use that as a company. Like, okay, what legally can I use this for? How does this differ from our internal system? And just like how that enterprise version even may differ from like a paid version from a consumer side.
Yes.
So much to learn and do and play with.
Yeah, I love that. So I love that eBay is having a whole AI week. I think I'm gonna follow up with you to find out what that
Yes.
was like, and that they're encouraging employees to carve out time. So my takeaway is, even if you are not in AI per se, it really is important to start the learning journey, find out what's out there, play with the tools, and continue to level up. Would you agree?
Oh yes, 100%. And like I said, and even if you don't want to, like if you're one of those people like my mom, she's still one of those like, slow adopters to, oh, I don't want to do, I'm too scared to put like they'll use it. But one thing I've even like showed her that was really cool with the iPhone was she loves plants. And one day she asked me, she was gone, she's like on vacation, take a picture of her plants. And she's like, I want to make sure they're not dead. Send me a picture. And I saw that it can like tell you the name of the plant and this is like not even an app. This is just on your regular iPhone taking a picture. And it's like AI is telling me the name of this plant and all of that. And I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm showing her this. And I'm like, man, it's just so crazy because there's so many, I think Chat GPT is like usually the synonymous with sometimes with
Yes, like
AI.
Google was
Yes.
synonymous with search.
With search, right? And there's like, no, there's like so many other like tools now leveraging AI. And it's just like so cool.
Yes, yes. So AI is cool, but there
Yes.
are definitely some do's and don'ts.
Yes.
Your experience, and this can be specific to the recruitment process or not. What would you say are the do's and don'ts of
Ooh.
AI?
Yeah, so I would say for sure the do's are as I shared, like you have to, it's not a magic bullet. It cannot read your mind. So I would say for sure one of the big do's is being granular and being specific about what it is. So like one thing I've been using it, so outside of work, right? Like I've been using it for fitness and I'm literally like telling it like I would love to work out these, I go to Pilates, I want to weight train this. This is the like physique that I am looking. So I'm not just saying, hey, give me a meal plan. I'm like, no, I'm like, I want, lean muscle mass. This is where I'm trying to lose fat. How like and then it's giving me recommendations. And then I'm even like asking it as granular, like, okay, this meal plan, should I eat these same meals on rest day and active day? And it's like, no, you should like reduce your carbs and then I'm like, well, what should I eat if I'm gonna do? And it's literally like we are having a conversation. And so I say that to say like the big do to me is like I said, being granular, being very specific. I think a don't, which I think you just really highlighted, is like, do not expect this thing to give you, like you said, financial. Like, I don't know if it'll tell people to buy Microsoft stock or not, but I have seen like people, they were saying that like people now are like going to the doctors and like going with, hey, chat GP, like how we used to do WebMD, like, oh,
Yes.
I got a disease because WebMD. I was the queen of that. Let me tell you, every week I was dying. And I had the one time I said I had cancer because my hair was shedding. And WebMD told me I had cancer. And my friend was like, it's the chemo that makes your hair shed, right? Not the cancer. It's like, my hair is shedding. So don't that I say that to say because I'm one of those people that always say, told me I'm dying. Don't do not leverage these tools to replace doctors and replace your physical and think you're going to. Don't use it for any of those things. Like I said, it's only as good as what you give it, and it's still learning. And
Yeah.
so it is not the end all be all yet. So I would say that. And then I say too, like I said, just the don't is, a lot of people are like, I paid for it and I got a waste of my money. Yeah, don't pay for an AI tool. Don't pay for Chat GPT if you're just going to ask it to help you like polish up sentences or for meal plans. Pay for it when you really are going to leverage it for a lot of those advanced things such as data analysis or saying any robust like writings that you would need done. I think I've seen some enhancements there. So I would say those are some of the big ones that I can think of. Yeah, I would say that's it. And I would say just, play with it, give it time. Don't give up on it. But yeah, I'd say those are the big ones. Like I said, I'm still learning. I'm taking classes and or trying to take classes and different learnings, LinkedIn learnings, and just seeing ways to best like leverage these tools.
So I'm going to pick up on that because, yes, we're hearing that Brittney got the job and she is continuing to learn. She has not become complacent. Two, with ChatGPT and generative AI applications, just like any other tool, like when you were learning Excel, you were learning Microsoft Word, some of us never learned Access. There was a learning curve. There will be a learning curve. And what you get out is as good as what you get in. I love Andrew Ng's analogy in particular, which says treat it like a very smart intern who knows a lot, has a lot of book knowledge, but has no work experience. And so you have to guide. So this is the prompting process, which we tend to make overly scientific, I would say. It's about what you said, giving it as much detail and context as possible that it needs to know to solve the problem. And then letting it understand what are you actually trying to accomplish. So I love that.
And
And then,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say because you even made when you brought back up the job search, that was another do slash don't that I was going to bring up is one, like, don't run from AI because a lot of people, hey, I remember even getting my new iPhone. It was a guy in the Apple store and he told the man like, I do not want that AI on my phone. How do I disable Apple from putting this? And they were like, sir, you can't. Like Apple, that is, they're requiring it on every. He's like, I don't want that or whatever. I like don't want it. And it's like, so I say that to say like, don't run from it because it's
Yes.
going to be everywhere. It's slowly
Mhm.
but surely creeping up, and all I see it on my like Amazon, everything on Instagram. So I'd say don't run from it, embrace it. Don't be a late adopter, and especially tied to your career, as they say, like it's not AI taking the jobs, it's people that know how to use AI who is going to take your
Yeah.
job. So really try to be sophisticated in the use of it, versus, like I said, running from it. Like embrace the AI and know how to leverage it and use it to your advantage, especially in your career. Because if you can use it to, like I said, do advanced, like even with how I use it at work and I'll have it do data analysis for me, like somebody has to still manually go in, even though it analyzed this and pulled out those like high points. Again, what does that mean? That somebody still has to say, okay, these markets are performing well. Okay, well, what does that mean? like they're
That's right.
performing well. Should we go after them or should we not? And then they have to tie that with other data. And so just learning to leverage those tools for, like I said, saving yourself time, but really showing like the value, like I said, because companies now, they're really excited to see like you using these tools to get things done and for efficiency.
Yeah, no, I love that because this whole thing around productivity gains is one of these magic bullets that companies don't know how to optimize, right? So you get the analysis faster about what's happening in the market, and that allows you to move faster, but you still have to move. It's whatever strategic decision that you make that is going to lead to value.
Yeah.
So, it allows you to do things faster, to become more productive, but to actually now translate that to something that hits your bottom line requires action, and that action often involves a human because it's some kind of strategic decision and execution that's required to go after the value. So
Yes.
love that you brought that up. And the point about the cancer and
Oh, yes.
potential advice. But I like to,
Legal advice, because I
I
know I've
know,
seen.
legal advice. There in IT, there's a whole concept of 5 9s, right? And it's just the level of accuracy that you need should guide what you take from it. So if you want to know if you have a particular disease, there's nothing wrong with saying, I have these symptoms. What are some things it could be,
Yes.
right? But the final decision
Yes.
should not be with ChatGPT. The
Yes.
final legal, because the thing is like, if this thing is wrong, then and it's a door of no return, that's not a good activity to use generative AI for. It's creative, it allows you to think things through, it can, um, crunch through a lot of things and help you to do things faster. However, major decisions require humans.
Yes.
Today, I don't know what it will be 100 years from now when I am not alive, but today, human in the loop is still critical.
It is.
Yes.
It is so critical, and I know even for me, I would say my chat GPT, I weaponize it like no other these days. People, we were even just like on a lighthearted note, our friends and I, we were joking the other day, we were talking about ASAP Rocky and Rihanna, and we're like, oh, like, okay, so who's how much income does he bring to the relationship? And it was like a joke there where I was literally like, well, according to chat GPT, this is how much. And I'm just like, it's funny because literally you could be in these conversations that are just like lighthearted, fun conversations. And I'm over here like, so Chat GPT, how much does
How
ASAP
much?
Rocky bring to the. And it's just hilarious because I'm just like, yeah, this is why. Because I don't even know if that info is accurate that Chat GPT is telling us. But I'm
It
just
still
like, yeah,
hallucinates.
yes, over here giving it. And I will even say, I told you like funny story too. Like I love AI because I had a friend I didn't know about soccer. I'm American, and I'm like, okay, what football
The
is
football.
yeah, these are two different things. And he's over here talking about his team, and I'm like, okay, Chat GPT, tell me all I need to know about like Arsenal right now. So I'm over to going. I'm like, okay, now I could go hold a conversation because I got ChatGPT teaching me about soccer, and then it was like, oh, but ChatGPT responded, do you want me to break it down for you in terms of like American like basketball? And it really like translated. I was like, oh, I get it. So yes, that ChatGPT, that's my bestie.
Me too. Brittney, so I want you to share your pieces of advice for anyone in the job search, given your experience with and without AI. What would you say to those who are in the job search today, particularly tech? There's a lot
Yeah.
happening. It feels like there's a lot of uncertainty. What pieces of advice would you share?
Yeah, so I would say a few parts. I would say one just from like a high level is staying encouraged. Like it is right now, people with the most prestigious backgrounds, companies, schools, everything on their resume, and it's literally taking most of them at least a year to find roles. Especially if you want a solid role and you're not settling for something, because I've seen some people say, well, I'm going to take this $30,000, $40,000 pay cut or whatever it might be. But if you're looking to, try to at least stay where you're at, not digress too much or even and grow, like it takes time. We just live in a
Yeah.
time where it is truly taking time. So it's like staying encouraged, staying prepared, because, many years ago, and I can't say I've been in the market for 30 or 40 years or anything like that. But as we see just through our parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, like people went into jobs and they were kind of like a lifelong thing. Oh, I've been in my job 30 years, 20 years. Now it's like you, without a choice, may only be on your job a year or two because companies without logic are just kind of like, we're switching direction. Where before, you, like as my mom was saying, she's like, you used to could see the writings on the wall, like, oh, a layoff is looming or coming. Now you may not see any writings. It's just like, hey, we're changing directions. And so I'd say like now more than ever is staying prepared. And that's why even like I think the AI tools are so useful, because it just keeps you abreast of like what's going on and consolidates a lot of those things, so you don't have to do all of those individual searches. And so yeah, staying encouraged, staying ready all the time, unfortunately. And I would say, just kind of answering your question, you said in terms of like words of advice, like I said, never forgetting that human element. Like I said, you really, as an extrovert, for me, it is very easy for me to talk to people, reach out to people. I'm not scared to be like, hey, I need a job or an opportunity. I'm ready to make a switch. But I know for a lot of people that doesn't necessarily come as organic. But in this current climate that we are in, you really have to like figure out ways to practice how to bring that out, because the people that are the extroverts, like myself, we're going to ask. Like, the old saying, you have not because you ask not. We are going to
Mhm.
ask, and no matter how great your resume is or how great your background, what schools you went to, if you cannot reach out to people and separate yourself from the crowd, especially in a field like tech. Now I know some other fields, I've seen fields where I'm going to say like the creative industry or anything, it's different. You're like creating something visually, so what you're doing, you stand out because what your work may look like some your work may look different from someone else's. But in this world, especially like I said, in a lot of these like traditional tech roles, like it's a lot of us. These are some of like the biggest layoffs that have happened. A lot of the popular roles are where the biggest layoffs are happening. And because of that, you really just have to, like I said, mix that human element with technology and do whatever you can to separate yourself from the crowd. And don't be generic. That's I see a lot of LinkedIn posts that say that like people can tell people took messages from Chat GPT and like DM them some most generic, like, hi, my name is so and so, and you didn't put any personal touch. You didn't mention anything about your role, your background, and some copy and paste message that you took from AI. Don't do that. And the same thing too, if you're interviewing, and like I said, I use AI tools to help me prep with interviews and like get questions. But same thing, like if they give you a prompt and they ask you to do an assignment, they know who put that exact prompt into Chat GPT, and you didn't do any modifications, edits, or you didn't create something yourself and ask Chat GPT to polish it. So it's just like to making sure to, like I said, it's to customize it, make it yours. Don't use it as this tool to just be generic, because too many people are doing that, and it's obvious when you stay. I've even seen recently that people are saying people from dating apps were doing that. Like the women were like putting these guys on websites, and they're like, he sent me the same prompt.
That's
Yes, I've seen that. One girl even said her book.
their messages were so creative before.
Yeah, like, and
Like, what are you doing?
yes,
What the young people write on TikTok.
yes, I even see one girl, she was asking for advice about her boyfriend because she said he puts her messages in Chat GPT and asks for help with responses. And she's like, he told me he's been doing this for a few months. I'm like, should I be mad? And I'm like, whoa, that is like madness. So that is my one fear sometimes with AI, is like, I hope, like, to me, when you're putting a whole text message into Chat GPT asking for help with responding, I'm like hoping it doesn't turn people into robots. Like, please don't forget the human element of all of this stuff.
Well, I think you did a really great job, Brittany, in articulating why we shouldn't forget the human element. And so typically people think it's either or. You can't love AI and be human. You're either human or AI. And you've shown that you have embraced AI and then layered on top of that humanness, your authentic, creative self. You have been a go-getter, right? Because I think it was in Rich Dad Poor Dad. He told the lady it's not about the best written book; it's the best-selling book. And so at the end of the day, you have to go out there and sell yourself. So guys, it's you can be an AI enthusiast and a human and be human on top of that. And it's really that combination that sets us up to stand out and to win our job searches. Or if we're in the entrepreneurship space, there's a lot we can do there as well. So hopefully you found this interview helpful. Brittany, can I encourage persons to connect with you on LinkedIn?
Yes, of course, always. I told you I love people.
You heard it here. Brittany loves people. Brittany, thank you so much for this insightful interview. I know it's going to help a lot of people. All the best with AI Week, all the best with your current role. And I know that you stay ready and that, it's just up from here. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure having these conversations with you. It's always so organic.
All right. Take care, Brittany.